Hey everyone, I just want to encourage you before this video starts to stay to the very end because I always have tips and tricks and things, mistakes I've made and ways to correct them at the very end of my video when I come on and talk with the final project. So anyway, enjoy the video. So for this project, I'm using the Let's Resin Fast Cure Resin. You can demold it in 4 hours and it takes 8 to 10 hours to fully cure. And I have a whole bunch of rabbits set up here, but the two I'm going to be using for this project are in the top left and in the top right. So after I had mixed the resin, I did pour it into the top 3 bunnies, a very thin layer, and I let this cure. And then later on that day, I came back and this had pretty much fully cured. It was not sticky at all. And you can come back before it is fully cured and when it's sticky, but if you place a flower in a spot and need to remove it, the flower may stick. And these dried flowers are extremely delicate and fall apart very easily. So it's probably in your best interest if you wait till it's cured and not sticky anymore, unless you know exactly where you want to place everything. So I just went ahead and carefully placed all the flowers, and I have this sped up really fast. This really took me about a half an hour to figure out exactly how I wanted everything. And so the part of the mold that you see here is actually going to be the back of the mold. So I had to be sure that I was placing the flowers so that the front of the flowers was facing down. And there is a difference between, these are real dried flowers, so there is a difference. You can tell which is the front and which is the back. And so I just placed it upside down with some greenery on top of it. After all the flowers were placed, I mixed up a small amount of resin, the same Let's Resin resin, and spooned a thin layer over the top of the flowers in each of the bunnies. And then I let the cup sit for a few minutes, and while it was sitting, I spritzed the top of the bunnies with some alcohol, with 90% isopropyl alcohol, because with mold you have to be really careful with hitting it with a heat gun or just any kind of heat because it can ruin the molds. Then with the remaining resin, I mixed in some chunky pink glitter. This is from Michael's, and I carefully poured it over the bunnies, both of the bunnies. And you can either do this, it's probably in your best interest to let that resin set, but for some reason I decided to go ahead and spoon that over the wet resin, but it ended up working out okay. And then I let this sit overnight, even though it would be ready in 8 hours, and I did spritz this again with some 90% rubbing alcohol to get rid of the bubbles. So the next day I took the bunnies out of the mold, and these molds are really weird. They're very rubbery and soft and wobbly. I've never had a mold like that. Now you can see, I don't know, those of you who've worked with molds before know that if a mold is shiny, then the thing that you've molded will come out shiny, and if it's dull, it will come out dull. And that's Sam, the kitty cat. And that mold there you can see is kind of dull, but when you do put the resin over the top of it, it will become shiny again. So anyway, yeah, I was really surprised by those molds, and the resin came out of it real easy, so I thought they were nice. I'll link everything I use in the description. For this particular frame, I just used tape on the back, no glue. I've been doing some experimenting, and it serves to hold the glass in place and to prevent resin leaks on the back, and we'll see how it does at the end. So I printed up on paper what I was going to print up on my Cricut. I just wanted to make sure it would fit, and I put those 2 pieces of tape on either side just to better help me center the words, because I have a really hard time centering stuff. And I just thought that that would help me. And I wanted to make sure that would fit perfectly between those bunnies there too. Then I went ahead and printed it up with my Cricut and put it on the project, on the glass. And at that time I went ahead and I removed the painter's tape also from the front. And next it was ready for the resin. The resin I'm using for this project is Let's Resin Resin. It's a 1-to-1 ratio resin that you mix slowly in a cup for 3 minutes. The slower you mix it, the fewer bubbles you'll get. You have to remember to scrape the sides and to scrape the bottom to ensure thorough mixing. I always put it around, well, if there's glass, I put it on glass first, but if there is not any glass, I put it around the perimeter, push it up into the corners and around the perimeter, and then make sure the center is all covered. I put the bunnies on, and then I'm taking the resin and putting it over the top, and you can see it immediately clears up when you do that. I think those little bunnies turned out so cute. And so I take some green glass that I had gotten at Hobby Lobby. This green glass can be found in bags hanging in the same aisle that they have the stained glass. It's usually by the back of the store. This is really nice glass. It comes in 5 different colors. It doesn't fade. It doesn't run when you pour resin on it. And then these little flower buttons, I don't know where I got these from. I got them last year around Easter. And I just kind of stuck those around. And I also used some baby wipes to clean up around the perimeter where I had gotten some resin. So after I finish a project, I always come back every 15 minutes to check for glass placement, to check for sediment and get that out with a toothpick, to retorch if needed for bubbles. And this particular resin needs to sit at temperatures between 75 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit on a flat level surface. And this is now on my resining table, my Let's Resin resining table. It's a leveling table. And all resins are different. You need to read the directions for the resin that you are using. It's in your best interest to cover it with a dust cover after it's done. And here I am in the very end putting some little tiny pearls on the bottom. So as soon as I started putting the Let's Resin resin on top of the bunny rabbits, I knew I was going to have problems because it causes fish eyes on anything flat. You can put it on the glass on glass because it is held in a reservoir, but anything that it can run off of, it will cause fish eyes. And I'm not sure if you can see them here, but they were very visible to me. Here's a real good example. Here you can see it. It causes the fish eyes. So I had to come back and use UV resin, UV high viscosity resin. It's a doming resin, and you can put it on top of the resin that's already cured and spread it out to the edges. It will stay on top, and then you use your UV light to cure it, and it will fill in all those little fish eyes. Hey everyone, so this one's finished. I'm going to take the tape off the back because I've been experimenting with these, seeing if I can prevent it from leaking by just using the tape. And so one of them I had leak a little bit. It didn't actually leak out, but it leaked underneath the tape. So yeah, this one's fine. Yep, well this tape pulls this black stuff off. But it doesn't look like it leaked at all. So, ooh, the bubble under there. Okay, so anyway, so you saw the mistake I made. I hope you guys can see this okay. It is so cute with those little bunnies down there. I'm gonna pull them in. So as soon as I put the resin on top of these, I thought I knew what I had done wrong. So the J-Diction and the Let's Resin I used on this one. Let's Resin are not doming or coating resins, which work fine on this glass art here because you have a little reservoir to hold it in. It can't run off. If you put enough, it does not leave fish eyes. But when you put it on something flat where it can run off, or even if, there's nothing to hold it in, it will spread out and it will cause fish eyes. And that's exactly what happened just on top of these bunnies here. You know, if you're putting it on, doing other glass on glass, like these little bumpy glass, you don't, you know, you wouldn't see it. But when it's something flat, so I had to come back in and use the UV resin, and it's the high viscosity UV resin, which will dome on top of it, and you just kind of spread it out and push it along the edges. And I could have actually done that in the beginning. And the other thing you can do, if you have a mold that's not shiny, instead of actually doming it on top, you can just swipe it across the top and make it shiny. And I've done that before. So I just think those little bunnies are so cute like that with the flowers in them. So I just thought that was different. So I hope you guys enjoyed the project. I'm trying to think what else I could tell you now. If you do not have a Cricut, I've talked about this before. You can print it out on like Microsoft Word in the font that you want and put it on the back, and then take your oil-based Sharpie markers and trace it out, and it looks real pretty like that. It looks just like, you wouldn't know the difference. And if you're doing it on canvas, you can take that same printout and put a piece of carbon paper underneath and just trace on the carbon paper, and then go over the trace marks with your oil-based Sharpie marker. So I have a bee video out. If you look back, I'll try to link it in the description, where I actually do it with the oil-based Sharpie marker to show you how to do it. And it looks just like it's been stenciled on, or like it is the Cricut. So anyway, just some tips for you. I had a little button butterfly up there that I put up. But anyway, all in all, I think it turned out cute. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps the channel. If you enjoyed the channel, go ahead and subscribe. We have the Facebook page going. A lot of very kind, crafty, talented people making all sorts of glass art and putting it on display. They're happy to answer questions. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks for watching.